All right, round two. Maybe? Let's try. Gonna try and see if I can get... All right. Take two. Are we here?
Yes. You haven't buffered and I can hear you.
All right. Everyone good? Give me a second. I have to try and get everything pulled back up again because I had to... Okay. Maybe we are good to go now. I don't know if we can... get everyone... Wait for everyone to make it in. That was in the last one. I don't know what's going on. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, Demon Lance, before we get into the hype list, we may end up actually going into looking at some merch or something, because there's a lot of good merch designs this year. Okay. Amanda, would you like to post in Discord?
I'm doing it right.
Thank you. Okay. Are we back, chat? Well, it's a good thing that we've got a good it's a good thing that we've got a good lineup this year because we are eating good with the merch for the first time. But still need more originals, but it's okay on that. All right. Bro, I said as soon as I saw Lady Luck on that shirt, I was like, need it. And then I also said Eddie kind of looks like Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like low-key. Just a little bit. Alright. Wouldn't be a classic 6 billion stream without trying to make sure everything is perfect and testing everything for like 20 minutes beforehand, and then everything going wrong for unrelated reasons as soon as starting. Let's go. Classic 6 billion. So, how are we, everyone? We are, what, 22 freaking days away from HHN this year? That's insane. That's nuts. Let me, real quick, let me try and, let me see if I can get everything. Okay, I'm just gonna move that over. I can't move my camera. I can move myself. Yeah, we are so close to HHN. I don't quite know exactly at what videos and stuff I'm gonna try and get out by then. But I did kind of have the epiphany today as I was going through all my B-roll that I need to do more with that because a lot of it's just sitting on my drive. So I think that I'm going to spend the next little bit kind of going through my footage, and I might be doing some more shorts videos that are just B-roll from the scare zones last year because I got a lot of good stuff and I haven't really used it outside of my one video. So, you know, I think now would be a good time to revisit all of that. Austin Allman 94, welcome, welcome. Appreciate you stopping in for the first time. Hopefully you have some fun tonight, and thanks for supporting the channel. Demon Lance, we'll have to meet up at some point at a Premium Scream. Ready to go. Skull and Spooky, you know what else we got before GTA 6? We got Hot Storyteller before we got GTA 6. That's how stacked this year is. Okay, well, let's look at some... Before we get into the hype list real quick, let's look at the merch, because I don't know if y'all have looked at the merch yet. I did start working on a short about the merch before this, but we're going to look at this stuff here for a little bit, and then we'll get into the hype list in a, 5-10 minutes here or so, because if you guys haven't seen this stuff, a lot of it is pretty cool. I am kind of mad, though, that the best place I can find Warp Tour merch from, like, the mid-2000s is with these Fortnite designs. Like, come on. Disrespectful. Hi, Mom. Thanks for coming back. Why not all of them, honestly? Demon Lance. I'm gonna try and do a what's it called? I'm gonna try and do a premium night vlog this time, like for realsies. So I really don't know. I'm not hyper planning anything. I'm just going with the flow. Okay, we got Jack again before GTA 6. But yeah, we got some pretty decent merch designs here. I'm probably gonna end up getting that Evil Dead Burn hat. A lot of this is on the Universal whatever, the Universal webpage that you can look at right now. But I'm excited. We got a hoodie for, it's a zipper hoodie. Look at that. We got a zipper hoodie with the houses this year. I'm still gonna end up getting the shirt, but ooh, that's actually very, very, very tempting. That looks awesome. I do kind of like the Michael A. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan shirt. What about you guys? What's your favorite designs here so far? What's your favorite year, Demon Lance? I always wear my 21 shirt on opening night because that's my favorite year. I feel like that's a challenge that's how I challenge the year. It's like, this is the GOAT right here. Not this one, even though 2015 or 2005 was a pretty good year. But I'm always like, 2011's the year to beat. Here's the shirt. You gonna rise to the challenge, or am I gonna be wearing this shirt again next year? And so far, it's always wearing the same shirt next year. I do like a lot of the Ozzy designs. These Killer Clown pants are kind of cute too, not gonna lie. Yes, they are. And I'm sure more merchandise is gonna be released. This is just what we've got so far. When do unmasking tours start again? They've got to be running soon. I like the Journey into Fear. Let's go. Keep that. The button-up actually might not be a bad idea, though, Skull and Spooky, because it's humid in Florida. Yeah, I like this shirt. Look, hot storyteller. Wee woo, wee woo. I should have made a meme about me being the hot storyteller. You know, a little upset that we didn't get some director love or some Lady Luck on there. But Lady Luck is on the Roosevelt shirt, which we'll get to here in just a second. So, look at this. Oh, so good. Also, Eddie definitely looks like Judge Doom. Come on, like... Like, come on, they got the same kind of, like, little chicken haircut or whatever. Same crazy eyes. I don't know. Maybe it's her kink. Because Chance is always a sidekick. Also, why does it kind of look like Jack has, like, marionette robot arms? I guess it might just be the aesthetic choice. And as him as kind of like a, whatever you want to call those. Anyways, okay, let's continue looking at some merch here real quick before we get into this hype list, because, oh boy, we got a lot to talk about. And I want to hear everyone else's hype lists, too, as we go along. So as I do my number 10, I want y'all to post down what your number 10s are, and so on and so forth, so we can chat about it. I do kind of like the Evil Dead Burn shirt, like, low-key. I don't know why, but I do. Some good Ozzy designs. Some good Sinners designs, surprisingly. Did like the crossbody bag. And I don't know if you guys saw these cross logo lug or whatever they're called. I don't know this brand. But they have this crossbody bag, and they have a water bottle holder somewhere for it. And they come with different charms or pins. Now, if you're crafty like myself, you could just get a regular bag and regular pins, but then it's not exclusive content, and you can't charge 20% more for it. But theoretically, yeah, the bags and all these pins are supposed to go, yeah, the lug bag charms. So you can make it personalized, quote unquote, and give more money. And there's the water bottle one. And at least we get some good posters for the good Ozzy and Stranger Things art. Honestly, I think those are going to make it here. I have to Oh, one thing, I don't know if you guys noticed this. I'm going to actually skip over it, even though I highlighted it very briefly. And we're going to come back to that here in just a second after we get through everything else. Chance is in a cage again. R.I.P. Hot storyteller, let's go. He's got that weird design on here, too. But I don't know. I think this is still some pretty good merch. Yeah, the Hellraiser bag looks good too. The Aussie water bottle, I think, was the first thing that caught my eye when I was briefly going through this. Um, Little Boo shirt's really cool, really cute too, with the little uh, logos from the old tribute stores and whatnot from that sticker sheet. I'm going back up, but don't worry. Stranger Things 5, good shirt, good art finally on a shirt. I like this Icons crew neck also with Jack on one side, Oddfellow on the other. That's cool. Now we got to go up to the Warped Tour merchandise with Fortnite. But also, look at this. Look at this beautiful, briefly looked. We got Hot Storyteller, and we got Lady Luck, and we got Cindy. Does that mean like the director is essentially the only icon that's been left out of pretty much everything this year? I think so. I'm not sure. Also, Amanda, if I'm ignoring chat too much, it's your responsibility to bug me.
We all just want a bag.
Yeah.
Like, we just want a bag.
This stuff looks great. I like the Hellraiser mug too. What?
Skull and Spooky said director is there.
Oh, there is a mug, maybe on the next page. Sorry, I was trying to look, see if I could find something real quick, and I couldn't, so I'm giving up. Moving on. Never go alone! Guys, never go alone! We've never had that tagline before. That's crazy. Sharon! I'm really... I'm curious to see how much Ozzy we actually get in Ozzy. Like, I'm sure we have an actor portraying him in some way, shape, or form, at least at once, if not more. But I'm curious to see how much voice clips or audio clips we may or may not get outside of what's already pre-recorded for those albums. So, if it's just music, I'm not sure. Colby, welcome, welcome. Oh, awesome. Welcome to the members club. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Okay, I gotta find this mug maybe here real quick, or we can just move on to spec if I can't find it here, or hype list if I can't find it here. Oh, and the freestyle cup. RIP director, man. Okay, I don't have the attention span to try and find that currently because we got some hype lists to cover. Let's go. Ooh, 400 on merch. That's wild. Oh, are my little alerts gonna play that I made with my channel member job? I see in the chat. I made overlays years ago, and I don't know if they still work or not. Thanks for joining the club, everyone. I appreciate y'all. Let's go. I also did look at Sparkles and Jewels a little bit, and okay, did play the Chino thing? Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So, what do we have to cover today? We've got, obviously, hype lists to cover. Let me see if I can do this the right way. Oops. This is the one I wanted. Woohoo! So, we're going to go over just the hots for right now. I'm just covering Orlando this stream because I'm probably going to do a Hollywood stream later on. Yeah, I'm now having the realization that I don't know when that later on would be. But we're just going to start with Orlando. Maybe we can do something to figure out a Hollywood one at the end of this stream. We'll see how the night goes. But I want to hear from you guys. Like I said, post your rank or your hype lists along with me. Anything that you may have seen in these interviews, anything you want to know more about. Let's make this fun as we're going through instead of just me talking about stuff, even though I am moderately entertaining as far as I know. We have one, I guess technically we do have one more Hollywood announcement, which would be what's going to end up inevitably being Monstrous. And that is going to be, when is Midsummer Scream? Is that this weekend? So by next week, we should have everything for Hollywood. One more thing real quick before I get into this. I'm going to shameless plug this for everyone who's in chat because I am way too far behind on my Not Scary Farm content, and I'm aware of that. But August 18th is going to be their Nightmares Revealed event, where they do an hour-long live stream of everything that's returning, the new haunts that are being announced, and basically just do like a full panel recap. I'm going to be live streaming that this year, live reacting and hanging out with you guys while we do it. So mark your calendars for August 18th at like, I think it's 7 p.m. Western time, so it'll be like 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. But we're going to stream that this year, and we're going to have some fun with it. So let's go. All right, let's get started with number 10. We're going to go best to, or worst to best, or least excited to most excited here. And just a real quick recap for those who may not have seen all the announcements and aren't hyper fixated on this 24/7 like I am. We've got 10 haunts this year. We've got 5 IPs, 5 originals. You probably know which ones I'm going to be excited for. But just to recap, the IPs that we have are Evil Dead Burn, Sinners, Stranger Things 5, Hellraiser, and Ozzy Osbourne, Prince of Darkness, I think is the official title. And then the 5 originals are Madlands, Caged Cannibals, HR Blood and Guts, Jack and Oddfellow HR Blood and Guts, Halloween, I don't have the full title, Halloween Spooktacular, something, Jack and Oddfellow, Chaos and Control, Invasion, Alien Abduction, and Cybergoria. One of these could be the best haunt HHN has ever done. But will it actually be? We'll have to find out. So, 10 is where we're going to start, and we are going to go with, yes, least excited is number 10. This is the one that I am not against, but not excited for either. So, those of you who have been following the channel for a while know that I am not generally a huge IP fan. I think it's very hard most of the time to translate something that's on the screen into something that's a walkthrough experience. And several of these IPs this year are such cinematic experiences from Evil Dead, Stranger Things 5 in some parts with how grand it was, but especially Sinners. How do you capture that cinematography in a haunt? So naturally you might think, Billy always has like an IP low, so it's gotta be an IP, right? Well, you would be wrong. Number 10 is going to be Madlands Caged Cannibals for me. Now this follows kind of a pattern that I've noticed from the way I rank things personally over the last couple of years. But there's always that one original that I kind of keep at the bottom that's announced without really too much fanfare and more or less just kind of sounds generic. And that's where Madlands falls for me. You know, 2023 had Blood Moon, Dark Offerings. 2024 had Goblin's Feast, both of which we know ended up being phenomenal houses. Blood Moon more than Goblin's Feast. But I'm doing the same thing to Madlands. A generic theme, generic concept, at least to me, that doesn't sound that interesting on paper. It sounds very familiar, like I've seen it before, done it before, but that leaves a lot of room to be pleasantly surprised for this one. So instead of getting myself excited for something that will probably be better than I am anticipating, I'm going to leave it down at number 10. I'm going to leave it right there and let it pleasantly surprise me. Because I think every single haunt this year has a reason to be good, if that makes sense. Every single haunt this year has either a connection to the past or through the pre-season interviews has had some sort of mission statement saying, we're going to do this really well. We're going to do this cool. We're going to be talking, or we guarantee you guys are going to be talking about this haunt in 5 years from now still. So I think every single haunt has something to prove, and we don't have any filler this year, and I'm hoping so. But Dre, yeah, I kind of agree. Kind of feels like a reskinned Hellblock. Ooh, Spooky Goo got Ozzy at 10. Dang. Anyways, yeah. I don't know if you guys all watched my short that I put out the other day on Not Scary Farm and their zoo haunt that they did. But I'm a little worried that at least scenically it's going to feel too similar. Now, I said this last year for those of you who were around. You guys probably remember me talking about Toxic 20s at HHN and how I was like, this is basically just Knott's doing goring 20s. It's the Prohibition era characters, and there's some crazy green liquid that everyone drinks, and then it turns them into crazy mutants, which, I mean, yes, was essentially the same between both coasts. But Knott's focused a lot more on the characters and the Prohibition part of that, and HHN ended up focusing more on the mutation part of that. So I think they both found their own distinct footings. Now, Knott's Scary Farm announced the zoo last year, released the zoo, whatever you want to call it, and I thought it was a phenomenal haunt. I really wish I was able to get some better footage of it because it was absolutely insane. But let's see here. I gotta see if I know I have the footage somewhere. We'll see real quick if I can find it in time. But if you've seen the facade for this, or if you look at the logo and the destroyed, ruined brickwork aesthetic, very similar to that. This very grand giant zoo entrance that has fallen into ruin, except for instead of having these cannibals who are taking on the characteristics of the animals that they killed and are like psychologically becoming them, Knott's focused on the mutation. These were animal-human hybrids, gory, gross, literally piles of poop in every corner that had scents coming out of them. Ew, it was so bad and disgusting. And I worry that Madlands just becomes your typical post-apocalyptic Last of Us, Descendants of Destruction. We're not going to get any type of good, meaningful character interactions. We'll get some cool costumes, but every single scare is just going to be a grunt or a swipe or something. We're not going to get any good one-liners or any good interactions, is what my biggest fear is. But the visuals, which I see a bunch of you posting in chat right now, visuals, it's a soundstage haunt. So hopefully using that vertical space, we're going to see some really cool sets and some really cool designs. But when you look at the rest of the 9 that are further on up, it's just, you know, how can Madlands compare? How can something that feels very much like, I guess in a good way, old school HHN compare to these haunts that all say they're going to take these big swings and do these things totally different than what we've seen? I don't know. Yeah, Proton Pack, I agree with that. Madlands is screaming triplets of terror. Seems like it's trying to do something really cool with a familiar concept, but I'm worried that it's either biting off too much more or that it's just not going to actually be interesting enough. So, I forgot to do the one thing. So we are going to keep Madlands, Caged Cannibals at the very bottom here. But don't worry, the IPs aren't too far away. Ooh, Your Next type of... It would be cool if the masks were kind of like Your Next mixed with like Schoolhouse stuff. I'd be down to see that. That could be something cool. All right, let's move on to number 9. Somebody be dramatic. Dramatic music or dramatic accents. Nobody could have probably seen this coming, but my number 9 is going to be Stranger Things. You know, it's number 5, guys, come on. Well, number 4, but for all intents and purposes, this has a lot riding on it to be good. Now, I will do a shameless plug for the HHN Graveyard podcast that I do right now. Every week or two, me and my buddy Josh, we do the HHN Graveyard podcast where we talk about all things HHN, and not just Orlando. We talk about every single one. Horror Unleashed, Orlando, Hollywood, Singapore, Japan, Beijing, the whole gamut of them. And we just recorded our Hype List episode a couple days ago. Which should be posted soon. But anyways, what I'm saying is that is, one, well, please watch the Graveyard. We'd have a lot of fun doing it. But also, there might be some talking points on there that I mentioned in the podcast that I may not mention here, and also hear Josh's perspective. He's a really cool dude, and he's kind of the reason I'm still doing the channel, so show us some love here. But anyways, going back to Stranger Things, like I said, every haunt has something to prove, and I don't think Stranger Things has ever been that good at HHN. Hasn't been that bad most of the time either, but Stranger Things has never really found its footing. It's always been one of those properties that has really good ideas, but we focus, or Universal tends to focus, in my mind, too much on those hero scares, too much on those Lucy's going okie dokie like in Fallout last year. You know, characters miming along, or actors miming along to words is not normally that exciting to me. It's not really scary. The way they make it scary typically is just by adding a jump scare or like a swipe at the end as a little bit of extra, but I think we've gotten too much of that in Stranger Things in the past, and I'm worried we're going to see it again. I felt like I was gonna fall asleep in the last one. Ditto to that. I feel like I almost did, or actually did, fall asleep. But the good and bad thing about this year of HHN is that there is so much that has already been released. Like, there's so much that's out there in forms of articles, interviews, like crazy amount that's been teased, which could be partially hype and could be partially true. But there was one video that I saw on Instagram. I wish I could remember who did it, and I apologize that I don't have the source cited. Maybe I'll put it in the description after this stream. But there was an interview with Laura Sauls where they had her basically do what is going to be the blank haunt, and asked her a bunch of different questions. And the ones Stranger Things 5 was mentioned for, I think, the most surprising haunt, or which haunt's going to have the biggest surprise. And Laura Sauls, who is HHN Queen, I don't know her official title right now, Assistant Director of Creative something something. She's one of the faces of HHN, but she essentially said that they're trying to do some new technological things with Stranger Things 5, and they're trying to really go there with the scenes in ways that they haven't in the past. Also, /100% confirmed is that it's not just going to be Vecna. We're going to get all of the creatures, as you can see on the art. We're going to get the Demo Dogs, Mind Flayer, Vecna, Demogorgons, maybe even the Demo Bats, I believe, were mentioned in that. So to me, even though I'm still not that excited, and upgraded Vecna costumes, because you know what? We all know how bad those Vecna costumes were, and if you don't, give me just a second, and I'm going to show you how bad those Vecna costumes were. But everything that I have heard, everything I've read about this haunt so far, even though I think it's essentially doomed to fail and is just a headlining crowd eater, everything I've seen feels like this is a redemption arc. Feels like this is yeah, we know we didn't quite hit the mark with the last time we did Stranger Things, or even the time before that. So we're gonna make it work this time. At least I hope that's kind of the apology that we're getting. Okay, hopefully this doesn't... Is this the one? You're gonna see the black sneakers with Vecna, and it just dead-eyed. So any type of upgraded Vecna costumes, I think, are gonna be well worth it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I had for Stranger Things. Again, I hope it's good. I think it has potential to safely be in the top half of the 4 Stranger Things haunts we will have had at that point in time, but I don't think it's going to really be as transformative as I think it truly could be. From what we know about locations, what houses would you swap? That's actually a really good question. Honestly, I would probably just, off the top of my head, probably swap Madlands and Invasion, because Madlands, I feel like, would work better in a claustrophobic environment that leaves more to the imagination, and I want to see just some massive alien invasion scenes that take up like half a soundstage. Like that would be so cool. Yeah, and Stranger Things maybe more consistent than Walking Dead, because Walking Dead was very good and then very bad and then okay at the very end. But I would just like a good finale. One thing I do talk about on the podcast is how HHN is bad at farewells or bad at swan songs. I mean, Eternal Bloodlines, the final Walking Dead. It's just like these final haunts in these series that last 5 years or so, whether consecutive or non, just always seem like it's a relief that we're at the end and not a celebration of everything that was cool about it. Please, Stranger Things 5, be a celebration of all of this and don't be just a sad, depressing, thank God it's over, because if done well, Stranger Things could be one of the things that defines the next 20 years of HHN. But we'll have to wait and see. So that means, I guess it's time to move on to number 8. Let me check my notes real quick and just make sure I don't have anything else. Right, Dre? I didn't hate Bloodlines as much as many others did, but yeah, it seems like they just kind of are glad they were at the end. You know, and one thing I do talk about on the podcast that I think is kind of worth noting here is we're not going to get into the debate about is HHN too kid friendly, should it be open to teens? That's a whole, maybe I'll have a debate stream on that here after we see Fortnitemares. But why can't we get something like Stranger Things or Five Nights at Freddy's even? Why does it have to be an IP? I would love to have some type of original haunted house idea at HHN that's kind of like, has those Amblin-esque vibes that bridge the gap between, you know, like childhood horror and childhood fears and adult boundary pushing gore and what have you. You know, that feeling of wonderment and mysticism. I feel like you only get it when we do these types of haunts that are major IPs. Why can't we just get Stranger Things but do it as an original and do whatever you want with it? So it, you know, I hope that makes sense. Yeah, the Demonlands, yeah, I agree the Vecna costumes look pretty limiting with the actors. They were big and blocky. I hope they never do. I'm sorry, Colby, I don't want to see the original, or the domain, what's the word, public domain horror movies and characters make it to HHN. I think we already kind of got that with them doing Scary Tales, and I think their take was a little more interesting and less schlocky. But I don't know. I'd have to see it a little more in person to fully be on board, but just on concept alone, not super excited about. Okay, moving on to number 8. We do have another IP, but this time it's an IP that I'm much more excited for in Evil Dead Burn. Crazy that this is number 8, honestly, for me. So crazy. See, I was trying to come up with reasons before our podcast why Evil Dead Burn was so low for me, but hey, Animaster we match. But everything else just sounds better. Like, that's all it comes down to, is this is a really stacked year as far as concepts go. There's a lot of cool ideas that I don't feel like have been explored before, and I want to see how those ideas are, honestly. I have pretty full confidence that Evil Dead Burn is going to be a good haunted house. Heck, I have a pretty good inkling that Evil Dead Burn is going to be like an B tier or even A tier haunted house, like comfortably. At least I hope so. But I want to see how everything else is done more. I have seen the movie. I was a little underwhelmed by it. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't as memorable to me as Rise. I think it was because it was a little bit too long. I would have liked to see some of the human drama cut out and have it just be a leaner film. But the kills, the set pieces, the facade, the like muted color palette, I think I'm excited to see that in person. something else that I kind of talked about earlier was those hero scares. You know, Fallout's the worst example, best example of recent memory, where you've just got Lucy, okie dokie, I think her name was Lucy, I don't remember, just popping out, miming these lines. I think the only property where hero scares work really, really well is in Evil Dead. Having these characters that are possessed by the Deadites kind of recite those really killer one-liners is really gruesome that I can't say on stream because I'll get copyright strike or banned or something. Right before, you know, the fog or water effects go off because they are committing acts that require water effects, for lack of a better term. I think they work so well. I think they're so cool. I think that's the best way to bring the Deadites to life. And when it's handled correctly, like it was in 2013's remake Haunted House, I think it's hard to top. And it's hard to beat. And the atmosphere that it creates with that is also unmatched. You know, I can't really remember too many specific moments from the movie that would maybe say, I think we need this in a soundstage. But I'm excited to maybe, since it is, maybe we get to see some levitating Deadites finally. If we don't get a candle drink as a beverage, they're missing out. This is a comment of the stream so far. That is actually an awesome idea. Maybe I can find one. But honestly, I think that's about all I've got for Evil Dead Burn. In Hollywood, you can see the gazebo facade for this has already been under construction. In Orlando, this is going to be in the same soundstage as Stranger Things. They should both be in 23. So this is where Wyatt 6 was last year. So excited to see a really good gauntlet. And I hope this one is lasting scary and not just like jump scare scary like Insidious, if that makes sense. All right, anyways, on to number 7. I promise I don't hate all IPs. I just am not as excited to see something on screen or something in person that I've already seen on screen. And that's why we are going to jump to number 7, which is Sinners for me. Amazing cinematography. I'm almost willing to put on record that, that the piercing the veil scene is going to be like one of the best scenes HHN has done. Maybe one of the best scenes of the year. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I have a feeling we could see some scrim effects for this where, you know, the lights, looks like there's a wall and then the lights backlight everything and then it disappears and looks big. Like, what have they used scrims for recently? Have we had any good scrims recently at HHN? Now that I think about it, I feel bad that nothing's sticking out. But, this is another one that I worry falls into the pitfall of hero scares. I had a thought and it went bye-bye. I've been talking a lot, guys. I'm sorry. Anyways, the one concern that I have is, you know, how do you balance good characters and scary characters when you don't really have time to get to know them, if that makes sense? There's a lot of great dialogue in the movie, but if all we're getting is all these characters talking and not actually scaring, it's not going to be very scary. On the flip side, if we just have people jumping out, groaning, and just making, you know, these sound effects, then you don't get the characters, and it's like, well, what's the point? You could have done this with anyone else. So I'm curious to see how they meet in the middle, if that makes sense. I feel this has to be incredibly cinematic. This has to be. This is in Tent 3, where Galkin was last year. And this is the headliner of this year. Stranger Things, not the headliner. Hellraiser, Evil Dead, Ozzy, not the headliners. This is the big one that Universal is putting their money on. And this isn't like, you know, I want to say, this isn't like all the time Stranger Things we knew Stranger Things was going to bring people. They don't necessarily know that Sinners is going to bring people, other than somewhere there's a point in here. I can't figure it out right now. But anyways, I don't think Sinners is necessarily going to have as big of a draw for the horror crowd as it's going to have for the casual HHN goer. So will this haunt be tailored more to those casual fans that are getting brought in and just kind of want to see their favorite scenes recreated? Or do we get a really cool Sinners haunted house that's like, well, we don't know if we can make this, we don't know how scary this is going to be, so let's make it scary. Let's make it our own. Let's make it just as good as the movie was. I'm really excited for it. I know it doesn't sound like it, but another thing to consider is that this one is a slice of action haunt, kind of like Hatchet and Change. So this isn't going to be, you know, we have the long setup of the beginning of the movie, which is just a bunch of fetch quests before the action hits. This is just the action hits, and we are going through the last part of the action. And that is not the word I was looking for the record, Dre. It's been a long day. It's been a long day at work. I was trying to not repeat everything I said verbatim from the podcast, so it was a little more interesting, and so I didn't go on as long of a tangent trying to get to the point. But said I want Sinners to be good and interesting to see. But again, it's so hard when the movie really doesn't have that much. The movie has enough good set pieces, I think, for a haunted house, but there's a lot of connective tissue in between. There's a lot of how do you set this up to make it stand out and feel different when a lot of these vibes and ideas have been explored at the event recently, especially with something like The Darkest Deal just 2-3 years ago, kind of having a very, very similar setting and location and layout. So we're just going to have to see. Skull and Spooky, I didn't even see that you mentioned Darkest Deal until now. But I think that's all I had for Sinners. Let's move on to the next one. Where is it? We're going to be going not too far away, and we are going to be going to the next 10 over, which we already know is going to be hosting Hellraiser. Crazy that this one is also that low, like only number 6. That's insane. But as excited as I am for Hellraiser, and that not every single haunt has to be this big event and do something completely different, Hellraiser, I worry, has the most potential to feel familiar, even more so than Madlands. I feel like this has the most potential to be like your Cedar Fair Slaughterhouse or your Hellblock Horror or something, where the environments and the scares and the ideas are just too much of the same thing, too much of a good thing, and just a little too similar. But at this Ireland Travel and Trade Expo, they showed the facade, and that thing looks absolutely sick. So I'm stoked for that already. But, you know, when you've got just chains and rust and mirrors, you know, I picture the end of Freddy vs. Jason from 2015, the mirror scene from Scary Tales in 2018, and just kind of the old, not necessarily post-apocalyptic aesthetics that we've seen, but like the abandoned aesthetics that we've seen a lot before. Costuming, probably going to be great. Gore, out of this world. I think there's going to be definitely a very good use of mirrors, especially when everything with the puzzle box is already kind of like spelled out. But you know, does this feel more like a Hellraiser haunt, or does this feel like we're doing just a generic horror icon haunt and it happens to be Hellraiser? Does that make sense? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But that's really all I have to say on Hellraiser. I don't have too much because, like I said, I'm excited. And it might be, I don't remember her name. We watched the first one. We still have yet to watch 2 and 3, which will be our homework before HHN. Otherwise, for once, I think I am caught up on everything. Well, I guess except for listening to Ozzy and watching some music videos. saw Stranger Things, Evil Dead, Sinners, and 1 out of 3 Hellraisers. So I think we're on a good pace. I guess let's just keep trucking on because I said I don't have too much to say because we got to get back to these originals. Oops, that's not the correct one. Don't look at that if I have it up, but I don't. Where is it? Oh, it's the first one. LOL. Number 5 for me is going to be maybe a shock, especially to Skull and Spooky in here. I know he's going to be probably a little bit surprised at this one, but it's going to be HR Blood and Guts for me. Halfway through the list, HR Blood and Guts presents a Halloween Frightacular. This is where if Josh were in chat, he would yell at me and say I stole his idea. But after speaking with him multiple times, I think he does have a point in that I'm worried this just becomes, how can we do Slaughter Cinema again, but make it a little bit different? For those of you who didn't go through the original HR Blood and Guts Haunt in 2011, it ranks very, very high on my HHN Countdown videos, so go watch that. Please do it for me, because I love you. But essentially it was Slaughter Cinema, except for instead of B-movies, it was all about holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, President's Day, Arbor Day, Easter, all of that. Instead of having the posters in between each room, you had a little old-style TV with HR Blood and Guts himself explaining the movie that was coming up and giving some one-liners, basically like the sequel to the Q video that played out front. And I think what made Blood and Guts better than Slaughter Cinema for the most part was that it was meaner and it was schlockier. It was trying to be scary and not just making scenes that had scares in them, if that made sense. You know, I love Slaughter Cinema 1 from 2018. It's very, very close to HR Blood and Guts in terms of quality and execution, if you ask me. But there weren't none of the scares from Slaughter Cinema 1 and even 2 were that memorable. Yeah, I love the interactions. I was dancing with the Amazon cannibals every time. Shitty's kids were great. What's his face from Pumpkin Guts was a good kind of jump scare moment, and Cult of the Beast Baby was a good creepy scene, but there was no like actual scares that kind of had me against the wall. HR Blood and Guts had that. The first haunt, or the first scene in this haunt, well, first movie, there we go. Amanda, do you remember this? I'm gonna test your knowledge right now and see if you do. Wah, wah, wah. Valentine's Day. But, okay, I thought I had it here. Oh, I might have it. But anyways, trying to pull up a video. And my drives are a mess. I need to get better at talking and doing things. Here's the Orlando house preview. But Valentine's Day was the first one. I think it's in the preview somewhere here. We got fireworks, blah, blah, blah. Nope, Christmas. Okay, I guess we don't have the Valentine's Day anywhere. So that was all for naught. But anyways, the first scene was Valentine's Day, and it had these giant cupids, like the 6'4", 300-pound, like Jason, bigger than Jason actors that they would cast. They just shot out at you, and the sound design was like something out of an Insidious haunt before Insidious even existed, and it just had like this creepy sound design, and it was so much scarier than it had any reason to be or any purpose to be. You know, it could have just done the Slaughter Cinema route and just kind of been, you know, a fun monster palooza with jump scares, but it was scary. So all of that to say that I'm very excited to see how this second one does, because we are focusing solely on the season of Halloween. There are 7 haunts or 7 scenes inside that are all based off of an original Halloween movie. So we're going to be exploring Halloween, the season itself, in 7 different ways through the lens of HR Blood and Guts. Inside Sprung Tent 2, where we just had, as who just put it there? Who was it? Proton Pack said, just 2 years ago, where Slaughter Cinema 2, the biggest disappointment of my HHN going career, which I would pretty agree with. We're going to have something similar with HR Blood and Guts. What's been concerned so far? An old-timey, I think black and white cemetery haunt, like 1930s cartoon style. There's a monster-themed tiki bar. I don't think it's Universal Monsters, but just a Halloween party at a tiki bar. Excuse me. Where the monsters come to life. What's the other one? Oh, Schoolhouse is confirmed to be returning. So we're going to get some type of scene from the Schoolhouse. And also the Pumpkin Lord. Wicked Growth, Realm of the Wicked Growth, the Realm of the Pumpkin, will finally have a good finale. Hopefully. Everything in that haunt was great up until you reach the last scene, 2 scenes in my opinion. The Pumpkin Lord was the worst part about that haunt, so I hope we can see that rectified this time. I think, yes, I hope this haunt has a GAT. I think fully HR Blood and Guts has to be the GAT haunt this year. I can't really see anything else that we've talked about having one, at least off the top of my head. Maybe something in Madlands, going real quick on the segue. Back to the zoo at Knott's Scary Farm. One of the one of the lesser known or like Easter eggs they did that I think made that haunt so good was, as you're walking by the cages of the animals, they have the little, like show cards with little plaques right in front of the exhibits that tell you what about the animal. And they all had red buttons that you could press, and when you press them, it would start the like informational speech about the exhibit that would play if the zoo was a real place. And I do kind of hope we see that at HHN, but I also hope they don't directly rip that from Knott's. But I think I would put money on a GAT in HR Blood and Guts. I would also say Jack and Oddfellow is probably going to have one, and I would say that Cybergoria may have something because of how that haunt is being described. But not sure yet. We're going to leave it there. Yeah, they're going to try and replicate Insidious until we are all dead at this point. Everything is going to be considered to Insidious. Even once Insidious has been surpassed, that's still going to be the easiest way to describe it for most people. So, all right, I think that's what I've got for HR Blood and Guts. Oh, yes. If you've watched the channel for a long time, you kind of know my opinions on 2015 as a year. I didn't like it. I thought the last anniversary year, midpoint anniversary year, whatever you want to call it, I thought 2015 was bad. I thought 2015 was pointless fan service that made no sense, and it was just catering for the sake of catering and not catering because the ideas were good. I don't get that this year. I really hope that's not what we get for HR Blood and Guts. I hope the fan service is meaningful, and I have a good inkling that it will be meaningful fan service. But also 2011's coming back in the spotlight. Even if Lady Luck is only on one little shirt and Scare Zone, I'm still happy. 2011, best year ever. Getting some love, getting some recognition. Now I just need my Nightingales to make it back, and this will be the best year ever, except for 2011. Okay, anyways, number 4. And number 4 is going to be, I guess actually, oh no, where'd everything go? Blah. Yes, I guess number 4 is going to be our final IP. It's going to be Fozzy Osbourne. So stoked for this haunt. Really stoked for this to kind of carry the same torch and the same meaning for a lot of people that Wyatt 6 did last year. And, last year's overarching theme with the Conservatory and El Artista and all that jazz was very, very successful in my opinion. And seeing Ozzy Osbourne has the same type of gothic imagery, or has been described, or the haunts have been described as having the same type of gothic imagery, I'm really, really excited to see this. I think gothic HHN is kind of something that's been highly underutilized in the last, well, decade for most part, I guess. Yeah, we kind of got like graveyard games and some stuff like that, but we really haven't gotten too many cathedrals and whatnot. But anyways, I think this imagery is easy to do. I say easy as in not in execution or design, but there's enough out there that I feel like it's not a, you know what I mean? You don't have to search the deepest recesses of your mind to come up with the imagery for this. And I just think it works so well in a haunt, especially when you move away from doing the typical gothic theme and you add something onto it like the dark reds and the satanic imagery, I guess for lack of a better term, that Ozzy Osbourne would have. And you kind of twist this gothic architecture into something that fits whatever theme you're doing. I need to research my Ozzy. I'll be honest. Ozzy's been on the background for me a lot, but if you were to play a song and tell me to say the title, I don't think I'd be able to do it. I don't know a lot of his album covers. Ozzy's always been there, and maybe for me, maybe this is for a lot of you guys as well, where Ozzy has always been there, but Ozzy has never been, the focal point. Ozzy has never, or was never, my go-to, and now finally, as a nice fitting tribute, he finally gets to be in the spotlight, as he rightfully should be, and this is our moment where we kind of we get to command our attention to him fully. And I think it's just going to be a very well done tribute. There's a few haunts. I don't often think that Hollywood does haunts better than Orlando does. I think Ozzy is going to be a lot better in Hollywood, but I also think it's going to be very good in Orlando. Maybe I just kind of want to see The Fallen from 2017 get redone in like a good way, and that's some of the vibes that I'm getting from this. But a lot of us have a strong emotional connection to HHN in some way, shape, or form. That's why you guys are all in this chat, I'm sure, is because this event means something to you. This event means a lot. For one reason or another, this event is strongly ingrained into you. And I think this is a perfect place to tribute or to honor Ozzy. I listen to a lot of music. There's a lot of music that is associated with very specific periods of my life. Very good memories, some bad memories, but memories that made me who I am, and for better or worse. And I don't have any Ozzy songs that really fit that bill. Maybe from when I watched the Back to the Beginning tribute show, but Ozzy doesn't really fit in there for me. So I'm excited to go through this haunt, to probably cry because I'm a baby and I'm an emotional person and I cry a lot. But I'm excited to go through this, and when we're sitting here a year from today, give or take, doing our hype list stream for HHN 36, I want to be able to sit here, close my eyes, and be able to hear the sounds of HHN 36 or 35, hear the sounds and just reflect on how good it felt and be in the moment again. And I think Ozzy is going to be that gateway for me and for a lot of people. Proton Pack guy, yes, 100%. We're giving. Also, it's in the Mummy queue, which is always like the best Hollywood venue, if you ask me. So, I think, dang, that's why we got the clowns again. Wah, wah, wah. But yes, Wyatt 6, I know meant a lot to a lot of people. Colby, I know especially it did for you, because I think you were the first person to mention that idea in my chats years and years ago. And I was like, I don't know who that is, but I think it would be cool. And then obviously time went on and I learned and things happened and we finally got the haunt, and I didn't do as much research as I should have going into it. But, opening weekend, seeing people going through it for the first time, seeing the unmasking groups going through it, and just the emotions that came with it. I think when HHN is able to transcend being more than a Halloween event, and it's able to become something that means something that lasts after you leave those gates, something that gives you those memories to hold on to, I think that's when HHN really shines. And that's where and that's what I feel like where the event kind of lost itself for a few years, is it stopped being something that meant more than just being a horror event. Ozzy Osbourne, Wyatt Six, this is the right path. We don't have to do a tribute to everyone who has passed on, because it's not always possible, especially with the complicated thing that is rights issues and whatnot. But, excuse me. But, you know, and hopefully no more tragic events happen in pop culture that would necessitate us getting another kind of tribute haunt like this. But, like I said, I think this is the direction that HHN... I think this is one of the directions that only HHN can do, because only HHN is going to have the budget, the resources, the... Oh, hi, Chino. You going to come on stream? Only HHN is going to be able to get the, you know, the clearances, the rights to do Ozzy Osbourne. You're not going to... It'd be very shocked if any other theme park was able to get this. And this is the stuff that I want to see HHN trace. I want to see them chase, you know, meaningful IPs and not just popular IPs. But going on a tangent, we got to move on to number 3, because I know a lot of you guys are going to want to talk about this one and probably actually yell at me for it. So as I was preparing yesterday for... Come here, Chino. As I was preparing to film this yesterday for the, or the other day for the Graveyard podcast, I had I had 9 haunts blocked out, and I was like, there's one missing. What am I missing? And I spent 5 minutes trying to figure out which haunt I was missing, because I just could not think of it. And silly me, Jack and Oddfellow, Chaos in Control, was announced almost 6 months ago at this point. Well, 5 months, because it was middle of March, I believe. But it's been so long that I kind of forgot this house was coming this year. Will this arguably be a haunt that changed HHN's history for the better? I think so. But the thing that I'm worried about most for this, and mainly the reason why this is here and not 2 more spots up, is the amount of ground that we are going to cover in this origin story haunt. So this has been confirmed. It was confirmed at the panel that this is going to be in Soundstage 22, which is where El Artista was last year. Now, El Artista was great, beautiful, perfect, chef's kiss. Nothing negative to say at all. But I'm gonna ask you guys, did you feel like it needed like one more scene? Did you feel like it ended just a little bit too abruptly? Because I did. I feel like it was pretty perfect as is, but one more scene somewhere in the house would have made it just feel like, yep, that's perfect. Only note. And I worry that we get this again with Jack and Oddfellow. So this prequel haunt is is going to be explaining the origin of Jack's demise, how he gets his powers, all of that stuff. So we, inside of Soundstage 22, which is not that big of a venue. It's a big soundstage, but it's not as big as where Terrifier was last year in 25. The ground we've got to cover is the introduction to Oddfellow's Carnival back in the day when Jack was working there, like Twisted Origins in 2023. But then we've got to explore the conflict between Jack and Oddfellow, witnessing Jack getting and shoved inside the Jack in the Box. Dr. Oddfellow then becoming more powerful and sending Jack to the Zodiac realm. Jack being trapped in the Zodiac realm and suffering before finally harnessing the power of the Zodiac realm for his own benefit. Jack and Oddfellow then battling over the power of the Zodiac. Jack and Oddfellow becoming best bros and doing the pose from Sonic Adventure 2 where they're like Sonic and Shadow back to back right during the Final Hazard boss fight, where they become BFFs and they team up and destroy humanity, and then them actually destroying humanity. Like, that's a lot. It took me like 2 minutes just to explain the story of this haunt, which is about half as long as it would take to walk through. So I'm nervous that not everything translates the way it should. we already know this is going to be an absolutely massive haunt, a technical marvel that is doing a lot of new techniques with show design and all that jazz. From a technological standpoint, everything, Ramon Pardo specifically mentioned how much is going into this haunt and how this is like the most technologically advanced thing that they've ever done at HHN. And to me, it almost sounds like this is bordering on things that you can only do with a permanent haunted house. You know, when you're building this thing that's going to be open for 2 months, give or take, out of the year, and you're spending 6 months just doing effect work, trying to fine-tune all of the show and the audio itself, that's crazy to think about. That's insane. So I'm expecting this to be a big, bombastic, and really cool haunt. But maybe it's a little bit too big and bombastic and overstuffed. Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins was one of the best haunts in recent memory because it just stayed grounded. It had some cool ideas, but it stayed grounded on the story, and it just kept moving forward. And I get worried that with Jack and Oddfellow, the plot loses itself a little bit. But Demonlance, like you just said, the rerunability of this haunt, I think, is going to hit really hard. And maybe that's going to fix it. Maybe just doing this haunt like a dozen times is going to fix all the story gaps. Or maybe it's going to be perfect from the get-go. Honestly, never a bad run. You just said the same thing, Demonlance. Yeah, never a bad run in Twisted Origins. So hopefully that energy carries over here. Yeah, Jack and Oddfellow, Chaos and Control is easily going to be a top 3 haunt. I would almost guarantee for almost anyone who's been going to HHN, this is probably going to land in their personal top 10, top 5, maybe even top 3. I would say this is very comfortably going to reach the highs of The Wicked Growth, Realm of the Pumpkin, or Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. Like 100%. I would put money on that. Is it necessarily going to be in my top 10 because I will have been through 135 haunts at that point? Not entirely sure, because I've been through a lot of really good haunts, but I think it will be different, and I think that's the most important word for an anniversary year, is different and not familiar. Jack and Oddfellow 2, Electric Boogaloo. Love it. All right, let's get to number 2. But real quick, before I show you number 2, chat, what do you think it's going to be? We've got Cybergoria in Fast and Furious Q, and we've got Invasion, Alien Abduction in Sprung Tent 1 left. Which one do you think is going to take the cake? Is it going to be alien sci-fi or robot gory sci-fi? Also, speaking of the Fast and Furious queue, I feel like by this point in time, we have seen a lot of construction pics, or we've seen something from the tent. We've seen something that's taken place between the show building and this Ghirardelli facade, but we haven't seen anything this year. As far as I can tell, we haven't. And I guess you guys in chat would be correct in saying that Invasion is number 1, because Cybergoria, as cool as it sounds and as hype as I am for it, Cybergoria is, without a doubt, number 2. And without a doubt, very, very high on my overall hype list. I'm so excited to see what this looks like when they say, you know, fully integrated. I'm gonna pull up a Dark Entities video here in just a second from Knots, but so you guys can see what I'm looking like. But you know, Countdown series, what's a word I always use? Kinetic. I like haunts that are kinetic. I like it when I can go into a haunted house and I walk into a room and there's something happening there, but there's something there, and heard this noise over here, but then the actor comes from here. I think those are the best haunts. I don't like it when I walk into a room, I'm looking at the scenery, and then someone pops out here, and second actor pops out, and then that's it. Like, the only moving parts in the haunt, or the only moving parts in the room are the 2 actors. It's easy to tell where the scares are coming from, and it just feels what's the word? Boring, forced at that point. So to have something like Cybergoria where, you know, the sets are highly integrated with effects, as revealed in one of these many pre-interviews, and then also this kind of human meets metal machine concept for a haunt, I just think it sounds awesome. I think they're gonna go scary. Oh, Soulcart, welcome. Haven't seen you. I think they're gonna go scary gory. I really think Cybergoria is gonna be one of the scariest haunts we've done. We're talking about earlier about how Insidious is never gonna die. Cybergoria is already being compared to the same type of thinking as Insidious and being as scary as that. But what I'm most intrigued about is how this uses the Fast and Furious queue. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I feel like every set of venues has their own vibe to them. You know, the parade buildings were a vibe, the sprung tents were a vibe, like the sound stages are a vibe, like you know the feel of the venue when you go in it, and that's kind of what adds to the layouts and whatnot. And I don't feel like we've found that yet with Fast and Furious. I think we were close last year with Jason, but there isn't really a haunt that I can go to that I would say has been the definitive Fast and Furious haunt. You know, Major Suites was very good, but it was just a long tent out in the open area. It didn't really utilize, it only utilized half of what we've seen other haunts use. So hopefully that gets rectified this year. I think it would be awesome if we could get like an actual just practical outdoor set there. I don't want a tent, just, you know, the first half of the haunt is in the actual queue, where the first half of Jason was last year. Very scary. It's the facility going wrong and all of this jazz. But then you go outside and it's actually outside. It's not going into a tent that pretends to be outside, but like you're actually going into this wasteland type set. And then you go into this abandoned building, which is the tent that houses the last 2 or 3 scenes or whatever. I think it would be great. I also think with this being in Fast and Furious queue, it's got the great potential of this really tiny claustrophobic environment. So anything they can do with mirrors to make the space look bigger is going to kind of, you know, mentally work that much better, because the ceiling's only, you know, 10 feet over, or 4 feet over your head, give or take. Unlike when you're in the sound stages where you can see all the way up, or even the new tents and some parts of the sprung tents. Awesome. This bad boy with the Doom soundtrack. Let's go. Get Mick Gordon here immediately. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know if there's much more to say about Cybergoria. Sounds freaking cool. Sounds awesome. Sounds like some great costumes, and I'm really just excited to see this one and talk about it. So, without further ado, let's just cross this number 1 here off of the list. We all know what it is by now at this point. It is going to be none other than Invasion Alien Abduction. Sprung Tent 1 rarely ever misses. Actually, alright chat, I have a game I want to play after we do this. You guys cool with that? You want to do a fun little game or exercise before we end stream? I was gonna say Sprung Tent 1 has a very good track record when it comes to haunts. So I think after this, I want to go through real quick with my countdown rankings, and I want to find the average of each venue/location. I don't know how long it'll take, but I want to see if I can figure out an average score for each venue so we can see definitively if Sprung Tent 1 is the actual best HHN location, at least according to me. Museum was okay, but not great. The Purge was... Nightingale Blood Pit was aight, and Dead Exposure was aight. But anyways, we're talking about Invasion Alien Abduction. From all of the things talked about where they're going to have like these new scare technologies, how we're apparently getting this giant 2-story, or this giant spaceship that's supposed to be as long as 2 football fields is somehow going to be created using just lights and special effects, vibrating floors to simulate the spaceship and the traveling. There's just so many cool, there's just so many cool ideas that I can see going on in this haunt. And seeing the sprung tents really reach for it as far as technological effects go is something that I'd be very excited to see during an anniversary year. Normally they get the claustrophobic scares and some really surprising sets for the space, but I haven't really, in recent memory, I can't recall one that was like so advanced with its effects or puppetry that it really blew me away. You know, The Thing before my time in 2007 probably fit that bill, but I don't think I've seen that in the tents for a long time. Yeah, museum was good, and then it was okay. Yeah, after that, figure out what's happening here. But you know, you got the Tex-Mex flair on top of your typical suburbia, and maybe it's because it's simple, but I love suburban haunted houses. Like the OG Halloween, where you're just walking through like suburban haunts and going through yards and fences and perfect. Like, just give me that every year and I would be so happy. But now to kind of see that through, I guess, almost more of a Hollywood lens, like through the Monstruos series, it's going to be curious, or it's going to be interesting to see how do you see a modern suburban, how does HHN do a modern suburban home now that we're doing more, or we're doing a more West Coast style, homestead style modern home. I want to see those two combined, and yeah, I think this is gonna be house of the year. I don't have a coin up here, but I was gonna say I might put money on this being the undoubted house of the year over Jack and Oddfellow. Maybe that's just me overhyping everyone and overhyping myself, but what was the UK event one that I was just mentioning, Demonlance, or is there something else they were talking about that was mentioned there? I know one of the other, in that Laura Saul's interview I was talking about earlier, she said this is going to have the best finale, or she thinks that this is going to have the best finale out of all the HHN haunts this year. So, oh yeah, I saw the photos of the house. I'm not super excited. I'm not super thrilled that we've got the Scarecrow room in that, but it looks like there's also some projection mapping going to play at the same time. So maybe I'll just have to swallow my pride for that. I'm excited to see these tentacles. Whatever these tentacles do, those are gonna be cool. Amanda, I love you, but I'm already waiting for us to be walking through this house, and Amanda's looking at something, and then there's gonna be a little tentacle right over here doing something, and she's not gonna notice it, and then she's gonna turn her head and go, ah! And get scared and be up against the wall. I say it with love. Almost like the little clown guys from Killer Clowns in Hollywood. The Halloween 2022 comes back, I'll boycott HHN. Not actually, but I'd consider it. All right, hype list, there we go. Let me pull up my rankings here real quick and watch my beautiful B-roll from last year. But I kind of want to do this little do this ranking thing if I can figure out how to do it here relatively quickly. So I'm gonna have to go through. I want to find a way to make this work, so I'm going to be committed. All right, so we're going to go to the wiki. We're going to start with Sprung Tent 1. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to add up I'm going to start with the sprung tents. We're going to see how long those take, so we can see if tent 1 or tent 2 is better, because it's going to be close. But I'm going to rank up all of the haunts from my countdown rankings that have been in each one, and we're going to find the average first. So that should be, what, 15 for each year? 2, 5, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, let's do this. So we got Catacombs from 2010. We've got The In-Between from 2011. We've got Alice Cooper from 2012. I'm going to have to scroll down to find that one. Oof, yeah, I didn't think it was gonna have to scroll that far down. Jeez. Well, that may have done it. Urban Legends La Llorona in 2013. 2014 was Dollhouse of the Damned. That'll be a good one. The Purge in 2015. That's gonna be the one that may or may not. That's gonna be the one that might sink this completely, because that was just so bad. Tomb of the Ancients, good one in 2016. We need more temple haunts, I will say as well. Let's see, we got Scarecrow in 2017. Dead Exposure in 2018, which, as I said, was not great. Or was not bad, but was not great. It's kind of, these are the years, and then Blood Pit after that. These are the years where I think 2017, 2018, 2019, I think HHN kind of lost its way a little bit, but then we got Puppet Theater in 2021, and that kind of got everything back on track for the tents. Not museum notwithstanding. Puppet Theater, and then we had Descendants of Destruction. And then Darkest Deal. Sorry, there's a lot of haunts. And I'm not good at math or reading. It also helped if I spelled museum right so I can actually find it. Because I've got, yeah, Darkest Eagle Museum, and then I've got Hatchet and Chains is the last one. Gino, you want to come on stream? Here. All right, we've got, I'm going to type it up here. Hopefully it shows up. I can't tell if it does because I have so many tabs open now that I'm doing this. Ah, I didn't want you to do that. I don't want you to, I just want you to show more room. Oops. Oh well. Anyway, Sprung 1 we've got at 53, an average of 53.8, which is a little worse than I was expecting from it, honestly, because most of those have been good, but yeah, I guess those few bad ones and really. All right, on to Sprung 2 now. Woohoo! Hatchet and Chains was very, very good. I guess since we're here, another thing I will tell you guys, or spoilers, I guess, we're not gonna get the final countdown. Computer, please don't crash right now. We're not going to get the final countdown done before HHN, unfortunately. The whole series is done, so yay! But I was planning on getting that director's cut done for you guys before HHN officially started. That's not going to happen because I don't want to be in the middle of a huge project for the 4th year in a row when HHN hits. Not fair to you guys, not fair to me. So we're going to do that later this year. We're gonna do that for Christmas, and then we got 2 years of haunts to add. But what that means is that's a long time for you guys to go without knowing my rankings for 2025's haunts. So before the event starts, I will be this week and next week working on a video that is my rankings of last year's haunts, and I will get that out for y'all because I think it's good, deserves a video. I didn't want to do a typical review or a typical ranking last year because I was worried it was too similar to what everyone else does, but I don't really care anymore because they're fun to do and I want to do it. So we're going to get that out. All right, let's go through Sprung 2 here real quick. We got Havoc in 2010 and Nevermore, The Madness of Poe in 2011. Penn and Teller in 2012. A lot of in the middle ones so far. Afterlife, Death's Vengeance in 2013, which is also because it's not good. Oh, you got a Certificate of Damnation? That's awesome. Yeah, Sprung 2 is normally a more mixed bag, I feel. Let's see. But we do have the best IP hunt that I've ever done. I'll admit it. Halloween 2014. Perfect. And, well, we're at it. Insidious 2015. Also perfect. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2016. Not as bad as most people think. Very faithful to the movie. Very incredible scares outside of the tent. That was awesome. Yeah, Sneezy?
Sorry.
You know, I want HHN to bring back Hive. If I would have said this in 2017, I wouldn't have believed it, but the more I think about Hive, the more I think that I did not fully give it the chance that it should have had, or I did not appreciate it, the weirdness, as much as I could have. I want another hunt like Hive. Anyways, we got Slaughter Cinema in 2018, Depths of Fear, also underrated, 2019. And then everyone's favorite, Wicked Growth in 2021. Good until the last one. Skull and Spooky's favorite hunt is next, Bugs Eaten Alive. In fact, he said if there's he hopes there's a room about Bugs Eaten Alive in the tribute store this year. Straight from his mouth, I heard it. But to make up for that one, right after we got Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins in 2024, or 2023. Slaughter Cinema 2, the biggest letdown of the century in 2024. I haven't ranked that high. Skill issue. And then Dolls Let's Play Dead. You may be asking, wait, do you have your rankings for last year in the countdown? Yes, I do. I know exactly where they are. I'll tell you eventually. Oh! Uh-oh! Chat. Guys. What is this? What is this? Sprung 2 has a lower average. Sprung 2 may not have as many hits, but it didn't have as many misses. You know what that means? That means that HR Blood and Guts is going to more or less be the deciding factor this year. If, you know, for the totals before dividing everything and finding the average, the totals, these were only off by like 7 spaces. So that's insane. I was not expecting them to be that close. So that means, you know, from here on out, which tent is better? Gonna depend on the year. That's actually insane to me. Okay. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I think this is something fun to continue going into our next streams, but I don't have the energy right now to go through a bazillion sound stages and go through another 135 or 105 haunts now at this point. 100 and some. Anyways, brain fried. So I'm gonna start wrapping up stream here. Amanda, could you do me a favor and go grab us some scaredy cats to say goodbye to everyone? So just to wrap up, here's our wonderful hype list. Let's see if it pulls up here. Woo! Our wonderful hype list, which that Oh my god, this is backwards from how I'm sitting. Wonderful hype list right there. We've got Madlands Cage Cannibals at number 10. Stranger Things 5 at number 9. Evil Dead Burn at number 8. Sinners at number 7. Hellraiser somehow at number 6. HR Blood and Guts presents a Halloween Fright-tacular at number 5. Ozzy Osbourne Prince of Darkness at number 4. Jack and Oddfellow Chaos and Control at number 3. Cybergoria at number 2. And what do you know? Invasion Alien Abduction at number 1. Honestly, MIB Sprungton I don't think was my least favorite location. Spooky. It may be, but I think I like Shrek. Shrek may have had 2 haunts that were far better in Case Files and Krampus, but I think Shrek is still my least favorite venue, because at least we could get a facade at the MIB tent. Couldn't get that here. Oh, it's the Pixie! Pixie, everybody came here specifically to say hi to you.
I just woke up. Mom woke me up.
Yeah, you just woke up? Here, come here. Oh, you're so chunky. You say hi to everyone. Somebody's mad at me today because I didn't stay in bed. And that hasn't gotten any better all day. Say, I'm excited for the fog. Okay, go run away now and be annoying. See, now I'm going to let her go and she's going to sit right here on my desk and be annoying. Do we have any of the boys up here?
No, they're all asleep downstairs.
Okay, that's all right. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate hanging out for this Hype List stream. Don't forget, August 18th, Nightmare is Revealed. What?
Check your chat.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Nightmare is Revealed for Knots on August 18th, live stream. Be there or be square. New short video coming out tomorrow. It's going to be the first thing I edit in the morning. HHN 2025 ranking video out next week. I really hope. I'm going to make it a good challenge for myself to try and get a good solid video done in a week. Kind of like is that a challenge or what's the word? I don't know. But I think that's going to be really cool. We'll do a Hollywood stream at some point to talk about Hollywood hype and go over some of that stuff. And then, God, the season's already here. 3 weeks from tomorrow, we will be at HHN. Premium Scream Night, eating $500 worth of food and hopefully not being stuck in crowds. Oh, hi, Coey. Come here. I gotta check chat. Coey, I gotta check chat. Can you come up? Okay. Well, Cohen ran away. Gotta check chat, buddy. I appreciate it, Dre. I'm glad you love the countdown. It took 3 years of my life to finally get it done the way I think it needs to be done. And I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed it. Any positive word on that means a lot, because I worked very hard on it, and that kind of helped me figure out what to do with this channel. If I hadn't done the countdown when I did it and redid it, I don't think I would have ever gotten it done, and I don't think I would have continued to be where I'm at. Hi, Cohen. Say hi to everyone. Ooh, closing out Epic and Darkmoor? Nice. Spooky, I'll let you know. We'll try and meet up one night this year. If you guys are at HHN, please stop me. Say hi. I love chatting and just hanging out and doing houses. I mean, this year I don't have Express. Not a lot of us do, thanks to everything that's going on. So I'll be probably waiting more standby queues than ever before. Definitely going to be min-maxing Stay and Scream and 1 a.m. power hours as much as I can. You look so upset to me. Here, get him right in the camera. We want to see how grumpy the mister is. Yeah, he's not happy. Yeah, there's a good point, Demon Lance. I've noticed a lot of the hype lists being pretty similar, at least in these circles. I've seen a lot of Cybergorias up near the top, Invasion near the middle or top, but Stranger Things and Sinners and Evil Dead all kind of middling to the bottom, as well as Madlands. So I don't know where Chino is, so yeah, I think I'll do a I'm gonna do a premium night vlog, hopefully, assuming it doesn't downpour again this year.
Do I have premium?
You have premium night, so you'll be there with me. Also, I'll have Amanda with me for the first time doing premium, so I can delegate responsibilities to her instead of just being me trying to film everything and soak in the atmosphere. So, meet up with me. Let's hang out if you guys are ever at HHN. I love to just vibe and chat, and we make each other better, I hope. So, that's the whole goal of this channel, is talking about things we love with people we love that love the same things and making the world better because of it. So I think that's all I've got for this stream. Don't forget what I said. Don't forget all those dates. 6 Billion is going to be bigger and better than ever one of these days. But right now, 6 Billion is tired because he went to work today and then tried to get a short done before this stream and then prepped for this stream and then did this stream and has not stopped talking for 2 hours. So 6 Billion is tired and wants to get a video finished. So appreciate you guys. Let's plan on something next week. I don't know when it's gonna be. Maybe it'll be the Hollywood stream, but we'll do some type of live stream next week. So appreciate y'all for stopping by. Keep an eye out for, or make sure you guys ring the bell if you haven't already. I know everyone says it in every YouTube video, but I try and post as soon as I know when I'm going to be able to do these streams. Sometimes with my work schedule, I can't really set up a date until like day before. So make sure if you guys like tuning in and catching these live so you can chat, have the notifications on so you can see when I post when the dates and times will be. But appreciate y'all. Take care. Be good to each other. Have a good night. Have some good dreams of HHN.